Welcome to The Explainer. If you have ever felt that crushing, suffocating weight we all tend to feel when someone simply mentions the word responsibility, well, you are in exactly the right place today. Seriously, if you've ever felt completely overwhelmed, like you are literally carrying the weight of the entire universe on your shoulders just trying to get through your morning to-do list, we're going to unpack exactly why that happens. Okay, let's dive into this because we are going to completely deconstruct and rebuild how you view your obligations.
So think about this. Is responsibility a prison? Or is it actually your path to ultimate freedom? Most of us, deep down, secretly feel like responsibility is a trap. We suffer from this massive decision fatigue, and we kind of think that if we fully accept responsibility for our lives, we're giving up our freedom. But what if that is entirely backward? Today, we're going to use a conceptual tool, think of it as the Sword of Michael, to cut right through the deep confusion and illusion surrounding what responsibility actually means. To slice through that confusion, we really have to look at two competing views. First up is the ego's distortion. The ego tells us responsibility is this massive binary moral burden. It wraps it all up in guilt, self-attack, perfectionism, and this incredibly toxic idea that we have to control absolutely everything. But contrasting that is what we'll call the clean essence. In its purest form, responsibility is actually beautifully simple. It's just your capacity plus your willingness to respond. That's it. It isn't omnipotence, it is quite literally just your responsibility.
Section 1. Redefining true responsibility.
Here's the thing. The ego uses confusion as a really clever defense mechanism. By making responsibility feel impossibly heavy, it gives us an easy excuse to avoid the irreversible transformation and the real commitment that comes with actually growing up. So here's the absolute baseline definition we need to anchor into instead. Responsibility is simply your capacity plus your willingness to respond coherently to reality. Notice what is completely missing from this definition. It doesn't say causing everything. It doesn't mean you are to blame for everything happening around you. It merely asks one very grounded adult question. Given reality exactly as it is right now, what is mine to respond to?
This naturally breaks down into three distinct, actionable layers. First is capacity, which is your current nervous system bandwidth and skill. Second is choice, your actual agency to step up. And third is training. Now, what's really interesting about this is that you don't somehow miraculously become fully responsible first and then act. You become more responsible by acting at the absolute edge of your current capacity. It's exactly like building a physical muscle. You lift the weight to get stronger, right? You don't wait to get stronger so you can finally lift the weight.
I want you to listen to this quote closely, because it's a real game changer. You are not asked to carry infinite responsibility instantly. You are asked to progressively stop pretending you are smaller than your actual capacity. Avoiding things actually creates a hidden servitude to fear and entropy. When we dodge responsibility, we think we're staying free, but we are actually just becoming a slave to our unconscious patterns and our circumstances. On the flip side, truthful engagement, stepping into what you can actually handle, increases your conscious causality. It takes you straight from unconsciousness into true sovereignty.
Section 2. The power of selection.
So, if true responsibility is stepping into our capacity to act, how do we actually do that in a world of infinite options? Well, that takes us to the core mechanism of how we interact with reality. Let's define power clearly for a second. Power is the capacity to alter trajectories, but power without direction? Completely useless. Selection is the steering mechanism of that power. Energy without selection just diffuses into the ether. But when your perception is clear and you commit your force coherently through selection, your power actually starts shaping reality.
Think about the stark difference between these two states of being. A person who cannot select diffuses their energy and remains psychologically vaporous. They're all over the place. But a person who can select coherently, they literally bend probability. They generate serious momentum and collapse uncertainty. Think about why decisiveness feels so magnetic and gravitational when you see it in a great leader. It's because life itself creates through selection. Selection is the exact moment possibility becomes incarnation.
But wow, here is the catch, and it is a massive one. Selection is psychologically and spiritually expensive. Why? Because every single true choice requires a sacrifice. You have to be willing to look at your options and say, I allow other possibilities to die so this one may live. This is precisely why most human beings maintain ambiguity. We want to keep all our options open. We want escape routes. But keeping every single door propped open guarantees you'll never actually walk through one.
Section 3. The 5 layers of action.
Now that we understand the deep psychology of choice, how do we actually operationalize this in our daily lives? Let's move to and see how this builds into a beautifully structured funnel known as the equilibrium clock. It starts at the very top with dedication. That's your existential vector. Then it narrows down to strategy, the major pathways, then work streams, then intuitive tasks, and finally, the sharp tip of the spear, the do now. This system progressively narrows the infinite possibility space down into actual embodiment. It takes the overwhelming multidimensional world and collapses it into coherent directional action.
I really want to highlight Layer 3 specifically, work streams. For anyone with a high-capacity, creative, or fast-moving mind, this is an absolute genius psychological tool. High-breadth thinkers often suffer from what's called undifferentiated responsibility fields. That's when everything in life just blends into one massive, overwhelming blob of anxiety. Work streams act as bounded containers. They stop you from burning enormous amounts of energy just trying to mentally juggle all your open possibilities at once. And this is the exact difference between standard productivity tools and what we are talking about here today. Standard systems usually do one of two things. They either over-optimize blind action or they let you drown in endless planning and perception. The equilibrium clock, though, is a conscious enactment loop. It forces you to alternate between attune, which is sensing what is actually needed, and act, which is doing it. It isn't just a task manager, it's an interface between your consciousness and bringing things into reality. Section 4. Focus on what is clear.
Let's bring this explainer home with a real-world synthesis reading regarding generating income and daily execution. This reading absolutely hits the nail on the head. A clearing day for the income path. Release the fear about the how, then celebrate the space you've made. When we freak out about the how, what is actually happening in our brains? It's just our cognition trying to preserve way too many simultaneous possibility branches at once. It's an inability to allow temporary exclusion. You've got to stop trying to solve your entire life architecture or your entire business model all at once in your head.
So, the crucial point is this: promote a single task from your goals. What is the one thing right now? This concept is literally the ultimate medicine for overwhelm. It acts as a ritualized gate of sacred exclusion. You do not need to know the next 50 steps. You only need to have the courage to select one clear action and then trust that reality is going to teach you through that enacted trajectory, not through holding on to endless, paralyzing possibilities.
And that leaves us with this final, vital question to close out our explainer. If true power is selection, and selection is our absolute commitment against the chaos and entropy of life, what is the single, clearest next action you will choose to incarnate right now? I challenge you today to let those other phantom possibilities die for just a moment. Release the panic of the how. Step into the incredible freedom of executing just one clear, conscious action. Go make it happen.